Welcome to Eye Contact. I'm Sean Hennehan. Today I'm talking with Dr. José Güell about his life in ophthalmology. Welcome, Dr. Güell.
Good morning. It's a very nice question because in fact I will try to resume this part of my life, but when I was finishing my medical school, training school, I was basically working with a neurosurgeon. So I was doing neurosurgery. That's what I wanted to do because I like the brain, but basically because I loved delicate surgery. So when I was in my fourth year of medical school, I entered to the neurosurgery department, and I stayed there for almost a couple of years. At the end of my medical school, I had a parachute accident, quite important accident. I broke my
You had a
leg.
skydiving accident?
Yeah. I jumped the fifth and arrived the first. So yeah, it was quite interesting. And this is another issue. But the fact is that I needed to spend almost 6 months taking care of that. In my country at that time, because I'm quite old, the military service was an obligation, so I need to postpone it. So I need to reincorporate in my military service for 8 months more after my rehabilitation. So basically I needed to stop working after my medical school for about 1 year and something else. And then I needed to go through the national examination system in order to decide what medical specialty I needed to do. And this is not a simple examination. This is we were at that time about 20-something thousand people with a medical degree trying to be whatever specialty in medicine. And there were only about 1,200 places to go. So in my first examination, immediately after this 1 year, I had a bad number. I was inside this 1,000 people, but with the last numbers, and so unable to select whatever I wanted, which was still neurosurgery. So I needed to wait for the next examination 6 months later. And then basically during that time I was working in some specific areas, but basically I was studying to prepare my examination. And when I presented to this second exam, almost 2 years have passed since I was regularly working as a neurosurgeon. And in that examination I was number 10 between many thousands. So it took me 48 hours to decide what to do. And for some reason, possibly unrelated to my previous experience doing neurosurgery, I thought that it was going to be a little bit disappointing to me to be doing surgery for 4 or 5 hours and then have my patient, despite of a perfect surgery, with problems afterwards. And I thought that perhaps for my life was going to be better to do something similar, but with a better and nicer results. And so I decided to do ophthalmology just because of that.
Fascinating.
I had no experience in ophthalmology, in the ophthalmology field, and I started my residency because of it. Well, it's a basic role. At least in my case, it was a basic role. Because of what I just explained to you, first year of residence, because I was able to select whatever hospital I wanted in my country, I selected the hospital where the possibility of doing surgery was higher, because that's what I really wanted to do. And during my first year, I got a kind of depression because I was not happy at all with my decision in some way. And so for a combined number of reasons. Let me tell you that this was year 82. So no yet a standard and regular intraocular lens implantation, for example. So it was the area of the intracapsular extraction, no refractive surgery. Corneal transplant was a kind of difficult thing, at least in that setting. So, and then I decided that I needed to do something. I moved to Liège to see one famous guy that was starting to implant lenses inside the eye, which I thought it was going to be something attractive.
And who is that?
He was Albert Galland. Galland was an incredible surgeon, and he developed the envelope technique for cataract surgery, for extracapular cataract surgery. He developed different implants. So I spent with him the summer of that first year of residency, after my first year. And then I first met people from the old European Society of Ophthalmology, who at that time was a small group of people. And this meant to me a much more attractive moment in my professional career. Immediately afterwards, so a couple of years later, I decided to go to US because I needed to expand my expertise in refractive surgery and corneal surgery, because in Spain at that time was a very low profile, and it was not very well respected, refractive surgery. And I met José Güell in Atlanta and Doyle Stolting, and I spent there my last year of residency. I did it in Atlanta, and together with that, as soon as I found someone who I thought was going to be interesting from a surgical point of view, I went there and spent 1 week with them. So I have had many mentors. I'd say that Albert and George were possibly the most important ones because they were the first ones, and they influenced significantly to me, also including the mentor, which is a retinal surgeon in my own institution, which is Borja Corcostegui, which is a very delicate surgeon also. But I would say that without all those people who have influenced me so much, it has been a disaster, my professional career. So mentors are, or has been at least for me, have been fundamental. Well, we have learned many things, and we still are learning each month or each day of your life things. No, but if I need to say something, because this is a short conversation, I would say that one of the things that we have learned, especially in corneal refractive surgery, is that the cornea has limitations in what you can do regarding shape and biological changes that you can induce. You have a limit. You can induce changes, both in its shape and in its optical properties, in its biological behavior, but with certain limits. So, as an example, when we started doing LASIK in the late 80s and early 90s, and because of the previous experience in doing other procedures such as keratocondylosis, we thought that we would be able to change the power of the cornea as much as we want. And we realized that that's not the case, not only because of the problems associated in thinning too much that particular cornea and a possible secondary ectasia, but also because optically a extremely flat cornea or extremely curved cornea it's not optically working. So so we will continue work on the cornea. It's the easiest, the simplest, and the most efficient way to treat or to correct refractive problems. There is no doubt of that. We will continue with that. But we are, since, I would say, the 80s, limiting and knowing which are the limits of these modifications.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, we can be talking about that many hours, no? But if I would need to think on one or two things that presumably will significantly influence our practice in the future, one, without any doubt, and I know that this is is an in-fashion response, but artificial intelligence is significantly changing our practice. And although we will not disappear, obviously, at least in the next few decades.
Someone has to tell the robot what to do.
Exactly. And not only that, but I agree. But especially from the diagnostic side, there's no way to compare the capability of a robot to acquire experience compared with one surgeon experience. So this is one thing. And the other thing, also quite common response, is prevention instead of treatment. So I can imagine in the next few decades that we will have tools to control the age-related effects on, for example, our crystalline lens. So it's not just a question that if we will improve our cataract surgery possibilities. What I think is that what we will have in our hands is the possibility of having cataracts when you're 90 and not when you're 60.
So you'll put yourself out of a job.
Yeah, exactly. In some way, yeah.
Great.
Yes.
For more information on this and related topics, please visit us at eurotimes.org.